I was sitting in my car outside a house in the nice part of town, and every muscle in my body was screaming at me to get out and do something stupid. There was a guy inside that house right then. I could see his shadow moving past the kitchen window. I'd been watching him for 3 days straight, taking pictures, writing down timestamps, documenting every single thing he did. And I wanted to destroy him, not just punch him. I wanted to walk up to that front door, kick it open, and make him understand what he'd done. I wanted to break something, preferably his face, maybe his ribs, definitely his nose. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. I could feel my jaw clenching, and my heart was pounding like I'd just run a marathon. But I didn't move, because I was a professional. Because someone was paying me $2,000 to sit there and document this. Because if I got out of that car right then and did what I was thinking about doing, I'd end up in jail and everything would fall apart. The camera sat on the passenger seat with its telephoto lens and high-resolution sensor. I had hundreds of photos already. Dates, times, locations, everything a divorce lawyer could want. Evidence. That was what I did. I collected evidence, even when it was destroying me. The guy inside, his name was Grant Thomas, and right then, I was documenting the worst moment of my life. You want to know why I was sitting there, ready to throw everything away? Why I was 1 second away from committing assault and battery on someone I'd known since high school? Stick with this story. You'll find out. But first, let me tell you who I am and how I ended up there. I'm Logan Morris. I'm 43 years old, a private investigator living in Denver, and I've been married for 20 years. 3 months before all this, I went to my high school reunion and ruined my entire life. Let me back up. The reunion was at the Marriott downtown, our 25-year reunion for the class of 2000. I didn't want to go. I never wanted to go to these things, but my wife, Thelma, wanted to, so I went. Thelma and I went to the same high school. We dated back then and broke up after graduation because we were kids and stupid. I went to community college while she moved to Colorado Springs for a while. We ran into each other 5 years later at a grocery store and started talking again. 6 months after that, we got married. That was the smart version of us, the young version that still believed things would work out. Anyway, the reunion. We walked into the banquet room, and it was exactly what you'd expect. A bunch of people in their 40s pretending they weren't old yet, with name tags. A cash bar and a DJ playing songs from 1998. I grabbed a beer, Thelma grabbed wine, and we found an empty table in the back. That lasted about 5 minutes. Logan Morris, and is that Thelma? I turned around and saw him, Grant Thomas. He looked good, still had his hair, still tall, probably worked out. He was wearing a button-down shirt and jeans with a big smile on his face. In high school, Grant was a bully, though not to me specifically. I'd watched him shove kids into lockers and humiliate people in front of crowds. He had that way about him, entitled, like the world owed him something. We weren't friends, but we weren't enemies either. I stayed out of his way, and he left me alone. Holy crap, you guys! How long has it been? I stood up and shook his hand, because that was what you did. Hey, Grant. Thelma stood up too. Hi, Grant. It's been forever. You both look great. Seriously, what are you up to these days? Logan, you were a cop, right? No, I'm a private investigator. His eyes lit up. No way. Like a real detective? That's awesome. A couple other people from our class were standing near him and they turned to look. Logan's a private investigator, Grant said to them, like he was proud of me or something. A woman I vaguely remembered from history class spoke up. That's so cool. How'd you get into that? I was a cop for a while with Denver PD. Then I went private. Why'd you leave the force? Another guy asked. I took a drink of my beer. My partner got shot. Domestic violence call went bad. Guy had a gun and my partner went through the door first, took a bullet to the spine. He's in a wheelchair now. The table went quiet for a second. I quit after that. Couldn't do it anymore. Damn, that's rough, man. I'm sorry, Grant said. Yeah. Grant cleared his throat and changed the subject. Well, hey, PI work sounds interesting though. You get to investigate stuff, right? Follow people around? Something like that. That's cool. He gestured to the woman standing next to him. This is my wife, Cindy. I looked at her, and I recognized her immediately. She was wearing a black dress with her hair pulled back. She looked tired, but put together. Professional. Wait, we've met. You work in IT, right? Your company hired me about 2 years ago. Her face changed with recognition. Oh my God, yes. You worked that internal investigation for us, the executive who was stealing. That's right. You did excellent work. We were really impressed. Thanks. Grant looked between us. You two know each other? Professionally, Cindy said. Logan helped us with a case. I didn't realize you went to school here. Small world. Nice to meet you, Cindy, Thelma said, extending her hand. You too, did you go here too? Yeah, class of 2000. Oh wow, I didn't go here. I'm from out of state, moved to Denver after college. Grant grinned. Hey, why don't you guys come sit with us? We got a whole table over there. I didn't really want to, but Thelma was already picking up her purse. Sure. We followed them to a table near the front where there were 6 other people. I recognized most of them. A couple people said hi to Thelma with hugs and the usual reunion stuff. We sat down and Grant immediately started talking. So yeah, Logan and I went to school together. Thelma too. They're married now, and Logan's a private investigator. How cool is that? One of the guys at the table said, "What's that like? You follow people around?" Sometimes. Depends on the case. Insurance fraud, background checks, cheating spouses. Cheating spouses? That must be depressing, a woman said. It pays the bills. Grant laughed. Man, I bet you've seen some crazy stuff. You could say that. I looked at Thelma. She was smiling and talking to someone she recognized from our year. She looked happy to be there, happy to be out. I hadn't seen her look like that in a while. What about you, Grant? What are you doing these days? Grant leaned back in his chair. I work at the big hardware store off I-25. Office job, inventory management, making sure the shelves stay stocked. Boring stuff, but it's steady. That's good. Yeah, can't complain. We're doing pretty well. Just got back from Napa Valley last month for wine tasting. Ever been? I shook my head. No, you should go, man. It's incredible. We stayed at this amazing place with great food and great wine. He kept talking about the house, about trips, about how busy he was at work. Yeah, we redid the kitchen last year. Turned out great. Cindy picked out all the finishes. She's got a good eye. Cindy smiled but didn't say anything, just looked at her drink. I basically run the whole operation at the store. If I'm not there, things fall apart. They don't say it, but I know. One of the women at the table said, "Sounds like you've got a lot of responsibility." Yeah, but that's life, right? I glanced at Cindy. She looked uncomfortable, like she wanted to say something, but didn't. Thelma was listening to Grant, laughing at his stories, asking him questions. What about you, Thelma? What do you do? I work part-time at a grocery store. It's not much, but it helps with bills. Hey, work is work. Nothing wrong with that. Thelma smiled. Thanks. The conversation kept going with Grant talking, Cindy staying quiet, and Thelma smiling. I finished my beer and got another one. Around 10 o'clock, people started leaving. We said our goodbyes and exchanged phone numbers. We should all hang out sometime. Grab dinner or something, Grant said. Sure. Thelma and I drove home in silence. She looked out the window while I focused on the road. That was nice, she said finally. Yeah. Grant seems like he's doing well. Yeah. She didn't say anything else. Neither did I. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a law firm in Chicago. It was a big firm doing corporate work, and they needed someone to follow one of their partners, who they suspected of embezzlement. The guy was flying to Phoenix for a business trip, and they needed documentation with full surveillance. It could take 2, maybe 3 weeks. The pay was good, really good, $15,000 for the whole job. I took it. I told Thelma that night while she was loading the dishwasher. She didn't look at me. How long? 2 weeks, maybe 3. When do you leave? Friday. She closed the dishwasher and turned around. That's our anniversary, Logan. I knew that. Of course I knew that. I know, but it's $15,000. We need this. We always need it. You're always gone, and now you're going to miss our anniversary. Again. It's not like I'm doing this on purpose. Can't you just reject it? Just this once? Tell them you're not available? Thelma, it's $15,000. We can't afford for me to turn that down. We can't afford for you to be here either, apparently. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Go, take the job. I'll be fine, she said. I'm going to bed. And she walked past me without looking back. I left for Phoenix 3 days later. The job took longer than I thought. 3 weeks turned into 4. The guy I was following was careful and smart, and it took time to get the evidence the firm needed. I called Thelma every few days, but the conversations were short. How are you? I would ask. Fine. I miss you. I really do miss her. Okay, she said. Just okay. By the time I got home, it was the middle of March. I'd missed our anniversary and Valentine's Day too. Thelma was polite but distant, like I was a roommate instead of her husband. I thought she was just mad and would get over it. I didn't know what was really happening. 5 months. That was how long it took for me to realize I didn't know my wife anymore. I came back from Phoenix in March, and now it was August, summer in Denver, hot and dry. The kind of heat that made you want to stay inside with the AC on. When I first got back from Phoenix, Thelma was cold and angry. She'd give me one-word answers, wouldn't look at me, and slept on her side of the bed with her back turned. I figured she needed time. I'd missed our anniversary again, so I deserved the cold shoulder. But then, something changed. About a month after I got back, she started being nice. Not like before. Not like the early years when we'd stay up talking. Not like when we first got married and couldn't keep our hands off each other. But nice. Pleasant. Like we were roommates who got along okay. She'd smile when I came home, ask me how my day was, and make dinner sometimes. We'd eat together, watch TV, and she'd laugh at things on her phone. I thought maybe we were fixing things. Thought maybe she'd forgiven me for being gone so much. But then I started noticing other things. She was happier, not with me, just happier. She'd hum while doing dishes, smile at her phone, and get dressed up for work, even though she was just going to the grocery store. You look nice. Thanks. And that was it. She stopped complaining about me being gone and stopped asking me to stay home. When I'd tell her I had a surveillance job that would take all weekend, she'd just nod. Okay, I'll find something to do. And she would. She always had plans now. Meeting a friend, running errands, going to the store. I'd come home and she'd be out. I'd text her and she'd respond hours later. Sorry, phone was in my purse. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and she wouldn't be next to me. I'd find her in the living room on her phone, smiling. What are you doing? Couldn't sleep, just scrolling. She started working more hours at the grocery store. Or at least that was what she told me. They need me to cover some shifts. You sure? You're working a lot. We need the money. Which was true. We always needed the money. But something felt off. I was a private investigator. I noticed things. Body language, patterns, changes, and Thelma had changed. She'd stopped fighting with me, stopped asking me to be around more. It was like she'd given up, or like she didn't need me anymore. I told myself I was being paranoid. That this was what she wanted. Space, independence, a life that didn't revolve around waiting for me to come home. I told myself this was good, that we were both happier this way. But sometimes, late at night, I'd look at her sleeping next to me and wonder if she even noticed I was there. It was a Tuesday afternoon in August when Cindy Thomas walked into my office. I was at my desk reviewing photos from a workers' comp case, a guy who claimed he couldn't lift anything over 10 pounds, but I had pictures of him loading furniture into a truck. The door opened and I looked up, and there she was, Cindy Thomas, Grant's wife, the woman from the reunion, the woman whose company I'd worked for 2 years ago. She was wearing business clothes, slacks and a blouse with her hair pulled back. She looked tired and thinner than I remembered. Logan. Cindy. Hey, this is a surprise. Do you have a minute? Yeah, of course. Sit down. She closed the door behind her, sat down and put her purse on her lap. What's going on? She didn't say anything for a second. just looked at me like she was trying to figure out how to start. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a folder, placing it on my desk. I need to hire you. I looked at the folder, then at her. Okay, what's the job? She took a breath. I need you to follow my husband. My stomach dropped. Grant, you think he's cheating? I know he is. She opened the folder and pulled out papers, bank statements, credit card statements, receipts. He's been lying to me for months, coming home late, making excuses, says he's working overtime, but his paychecks haven't changed. She slid a credit card statement toward me with charges highlighted in yellow. Hotels, restaurants, flowers. He told me he had to go on a business trip 2 months ago for work. But Logan? He works at a hardware store. Office staff don't travel. I looked at the statement. Where did he say he was going? Colorado Springs for a conference. I called the store. There was no conference. She pulled out her phone, opened her messages, and showed me text messages between her and Grant. Short, cold, one-word answers. He used to text me all the time. Now I'm lucky if I get a response. She put the phone down and looked at me. I need proof for the divorce. I need you to follow him, document everything. I need to know who she is. I looked at the folder, at the statements, at the receipts. My brain was working, processing, trying to stay professional, but something in my gut was twisting. When did this start? I don't know exactly. I started noticing things in March, April. He'd stay late at work, come home smelling like perfume. I tried to talk to him about it, but he just got defensive. March. When I was in Phoenix, I finally checked his phone last week. He'd deleted most of his messages, but I saw enough. What did you see? She looked down. Text messages to someone. He called her T. I don't know who she is, but they've been talking for months. T. Thelma. No, it couldn't be. Logan? I blinked and looked at her. Sorry. Yeah, I'm listening. Can you take the case? I should have said no. I should have told her to find another PI. I should have, but I didn't. Because I needed to know. Yeah, I'll take it. She nodded and relief washed over her face. Thank you. I'll need details, his schedule, where he works, what car he drives. I can give you all of that. She pulled out a notebook and started writing while I watched her, my mind racing. T. It wasn't Thelma. It couldn't be Thelma. Thelma wouldn't. But then I thought about the last 5 months. The smiling, the humming, the happiness that had nothing to do with me. The late nights. The extra shifts, the phone she wouldn't put down. No. Cindy finished writing, tore out the page, and handed it to me. This is everything I know. His schedule, his car, license plate number. I took the paper. I'll start tomorrow. Thank you. I really appreciate this, Logan. I know it's awkward since we know each other. It's fine. This is what I do. She picked up her purse and hesitated. I'm sorry. I know this is weird, but you're the best investigator I know, and I trust you. I'll get you what you need. She nodded, opened the door, and left. I sat there staring at the paper in my hand. Grant's information, his schedule, where he'd be, and all I could think about was one letter. I started following Grant the next morning, Wednesday, August 17th. I was parked outside Grant and Cindy's house at 6:45 a.m. A 4-bedroom in a nice neighborhood with trees lining the street and people who mowed their lawns every week. Grant's silver Toyota Camry was in the driveway, and I was 3 houses down with my camera, coffee, and an empty bottle in case I needed it. This was the job, sitting, watching, waiting. I was good at it, patient. I could sit in a car for 12 hours without moving, but that day my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept thinking about that letter. T. It wasn't her. It was someone else, someone from his work, someone I didn't know. It had to be. At 7:15 a.m., Grant backed out of the garage and drove to the hardware store. I followed and watched him go inside, then parked across the street and wrote down the time and location. 3 hours later, he came out and got in his car. But he didn't go back to work. He drove across town to a coffee shop on the south side and parked. I grabbed my camera and watched him go inside. He sat at a table by the window, alone, looking at his phone. 5 minutes later, Someone walked up to his table. A woman with brown hair, wearing jeans and a t-shirt. She was smiling. She sat down and he stood up to hug her. The hug lasted too long. I zoomed in on her face and my stomach dropped. Oh my God, no. It was Thelma, my wife, sitting across from Grant Thomas in a coffee shop at 10:45 on a Wednesday morning, smiling at him like he was the only person in the world. The camera almost fell out of my hands, but I forced myself to keep taking pictures. They talked for 20 minutes, leaning in close, touching hands, laughing. Then they stood up. He paid and they walked out together, getting into his car. I followed. He drove to a quiet neighborhood I didn't recognize and pulled into a driveway. I parked down the block and watched them get out and go inside. I checked the address on my phone. It was an Airbnb, a rental. He'd rented a house to bring my wife to. I wanted to kick down that door, wanted to drag him out and break every bone in his face. But I didn't, because I was a professional. Because if I lost control, I'd lose everything. So I sat and waited and took pictures. 2 hours later, they came out. Thelma's hair was messy and she was fixing her shirt. Grant was smiling. He drove her back to the coffee shop. She got in her car and drove away. And I sat there alone, staring at nothing. The camera was full of pictures. Proof that my wife was sleeping with Grant Thomas. Proof that I'd been an idiot. I drove back to my office and downloaded every photo. There they were. Thelma and Grant together, smiling, touching, kissing in the parking lot. I should have deleted them, should have walked away, but I didn't, because I needed to know how long this had been going on, because I needed to know if everything in my marriage had been a lie, because I was a professional, and this was what I did, even when it was destroying me. I followed Grant for 6 more days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Same pattern every time. Work, coffee shop, rental house, 2 hours, leave. On Saturday, I followed Thelma afterward. She went straight to the grocery store and clocked in for her shift, like nothing had happened. By the following Wednesday, I had enough evidence to bury both of them. I was sitting in my office staring at hundreds of photos when my phone buzzed with a text from Cindy. Any update? I stared at the message for a long time. I typed back, yes, can you come to my office tomorrow? I have what you need. She responded immediately. What time? 10 a.m. I'll be there. Tomorrow. Cindy would walk into my office and I'd hand her the evidence. She'd see her husband with my wife. And we'd both know that everything we thought we had was gone. Chapter 5, Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. I was sitting at my desk with a manila folder in front of me containing 43 photographs, dates, times, locations, and a timeline spreadsheet. Everything Cindy Thomas needed for her divorce, and everything that proved my marriage was over. I didn't sleep the night before. I tried, went home around midnight, and Thelma was already in bed, asleep or pretending to be. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom for 10 minutes. Just watching her, trying to figure out when she became someone I didn't know. Then I went to the couch and stared at the ceiling until sunrise. She was gone when I woke up with a note on the kitchen counter. Working early shift. See you tonight. Working. Right. My coffee was cold, but I didn't care. The folder sat there waiting, and I'd opened it 5 times that morning, looking at the photos before closing it again. Every time I saw them together, it hit me all over again. The way she looked at him, the way she smiled, the way she touched his hand across the table. I hadn't seen that version of Thelma in years. Maybe I never did. Maybe that version of her only existed when I wasn't around. My phone buzzed with a text from Cindy. On my way. Be there in 10. I heard footsteps on the stairs outside my office, slow and steady. Then a knock on the door. Come in. Cindy walked in wearing jeans and a sweater with her hair down. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Hi. Sit down. She closed the door, sat, and put her purse on the floor. She was staring at the folder on my desk. Is that it? Yeah. She took a breath. Okay. I sat down and put my hands on the desk, not knowing what to do with them. Before I show you this, I need to tell you something. She looked at me confused. Okay. I looked at the folder, then at her. I found out who she is. Who? I didn't say anything for a second. It's Thelma. She blinked. What? The woman Grant's been seeing is my wife, Thelma. Cindy stared at me, with her mouth opening and closing. What? Your wife, Thelma from the reunion? Yeah, I followed him for a week, documented everything, and it's her. It's Thelma. Her face went pale. Are you sure? I slid the folder across the desk toward her. See for yourself. She looked at the folder but didn't touch it. Cindy, I'm sorry. I didn't know until I started following him. I didn't. Open it, she said. What? Open it. I can't. You do it. I pulled the folder back, opened it, and pulled out the first photo from Wednesday at the coffee shop. Thelma and Grant sitting across from each other, leaning in, smiling. I turned it around and slid it toward her. She looked at it and her hand went to her mouth. Oh my God. I pulled out more photos. Grant and Thelma walking to his car with his hand on her lower back. Them going into the rental house. Coming out 2 hours later with Thelma's hair messy and Grant smiling. Them kissing in the parking lot before she got in her car. I spread them out on the desk, one by one, while Cindy's eyes moved from photo to photo, her hands still covering her mouth. This is from last week? Yeah, Wednesday through the following Wednesday. Same pattern, almost every day. He leaves work around 10:30, meets her at a coffee shop on the south side. They drive to a rental house he's been paying for, stay there for about 2 hours, then leave. A rental house. Her voice was flat. Yeah, short-term Airbnb. He's been renting it for 3 months. 3 months. I pulled out the credit card statements and pointed to the charges. He's been paying for it with this credit card. Same card he used for the flowers and restaurants. Everything. She looked at the statements, then back at the photos. She was at the reunion. She was sitting right next to me. We talked. We shook hands. She trailed off and looked at me. Did you know? No, I didn't know until last Wednesday when I saw her at the coffee shop. And you kept following them. Yeah, you hired me to document this, so I documented it. She picked up one of the photos from the parking lot of them kissing. How long? How long have they been doing this? Do you know? I pulled out the timeline I'd made with text message records from Cindy's evidence, credit card statements, and rental agreements. Based on what you gave me and what I found, it started in March, right around the time I left for Phoenix. Cindy looked at me. You were gone. Yeah, for a month. And that's when it started. Looks like it. She put the photo down, leaned back in the chair, and stared at the ceiling. I've been planning early retirement. I've been working 60-hour weeks for the last 2 years so we could retire early and travel, so I could spend time with him. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. And he's been spending his time with your wife in a house he rented with his own credit card. Yeah. We sat there for a minute, not saying anything. What are you going to do? About Thelma? About your marriage? I leaned back in my chair. I don't know. Divorce, I guess. Same as you. Have you talked to a lawyer? Not yet. She nodded and looked at the photos again. I'm seeing mine tomorrow. I'm taking the house. It's mine. My parents left it to me. He's not getting anything. Good. She started gathering the photos and putting them back in the folder, her hands shaking. I need copies of all of this. The photos, the timeline, everything. I'll email it to you and make you a USB drive. Keep the folder. Thank you. She stood up, picked up the folder, and held it against her chest like a shield. Logan. Yeah. I'm sorry. I know you're going through this too, and I'm sorry you had to be the one to find out. To document it. That's not fair. It's my job. Still, it's not fair. I stood up. Life's not fair. She almost smiled. No, I guess it's not. She walked to the door, stopped, and turned around. Are we going to be okay? You and me? I don't know. Probably not. But we'll survive. Yeah, we will. She opened the door and left. I sat back down. The desk was empty now. No folder, no photos, just my cold coffee and my phone. I picked up my phone and looked at it. I should text Thelma, should tell her I knew, should confront her right then. But I didn't, because I didn't know what to say, because part of me still couldn't believe it was real. Because once I said it out loud, it was over. Everything was over. So I put the phone down and sat there in my office above a pizza place, alone, wondering how I got there and what I was supposed to do next. I didn't go home that night. After Cindy left, I sat in my office for 3 hours staring at my computer screen. The folder was gone, but the photos were still there. Digital copies, backed up, permanent. Evidence that wouldn't go away just because I wanted it to. Around 2 in the afternoon, I closed my laptop, locked the office, and went to O'Malley's, a dive bar down the street. Dark and quiet, the kind of place where nobody asked questions. I ordered a beer, then another, then a whiskey. My phone buzzed around 5 with a text from Thelma. "When are you coming home?" I stared at it. She wanted to know when I was coming home, like she cared, like she hadn't spent the last 5 months sleeping with Grant Thomas while I was working. I typed, "Late, working a case." 3 dots appeared, then, okay, that was it. I stayed until closing. The bartender cut me off around 11, but let me sit there nursing my last drink. "You all right, man?" "Yeah, just a bad day." I paid my tab, left a big tip, and walked back to my office. I didn't want to drive, didn't trust myself. I slept on the couch, the one I used for naps during long stakeouts. It smelled like old coffee and pizza from downstairs. I didn't sleep much, just laid there staring at the ceiling, thinking about Thelma and Grant. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photos. Wednesday morning, I woke up with a headache and my phone buzzing. Text from Thelma. "Where are you? Did you come home?" I typed, "Fell asleep at the office, long night." She responded, "Oh, okay. Are you coming home today?" "Maybe, got a lot of work." "Okay." I went to the bathroom down the hall, washed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. Bloodshot eyes, unshaven, tired. I looked like a man whose wife was cheating on him. I went back to my office and made coffee. I had work to do. A background check for a law firm, a workers' comp case that needed follow-up, but I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about going home, about looking at Thelma and pretending I didn't know. Could I do it? Could I look her in the eye and act normal? I didn't think so. What is there to say? She made her choice. It is just a waste of my time. She will just give me some lame excuse that I'm not around. I thought she would understand that I am doing this for us, so I chose to stay at the office. That night, I went back to O'Malley's. Same stool, same bartender, same drinks. Thelma texted around 7. "Are you okay? I'm worried, Logan." I almost laughed. She was worried about me being gone. "I'm fine, just busy." "When are you coming home?" "Soon," I lied. She didn't respond. Thursday, I woke up on the couch again with everything hurting. I had 2 missed calls from Thelma and 1 voicemail. "Logan, I'm getting worried. You haven't been home in 2 days. Can you just call me? Let me know you're okay?" She sounded concerned, almost scared. I wanted to call her back, wanted to yell at her, wanted to ask her how long she'd been lying to me. But I didn't. I deleted the voicemail, made coffee, and tried to work. Around noon on Thursday, someone knocked on my door. "Come in." It was Cindy, wearing jeans, a jacket, with her hair pulled back. She looked tired, but more put together than Tuesday. "Hey, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to check on you." She closed the door and held up a paper bag. "And I brought you lunch. You look like you haven't eaten in days." "I'm fine." "You're not fine." She put the bag on my desk. "When's the last time you went home?" I didn't answer. "Logan, Tuesday night." She was already asleep. I slept on the couch and left before she woke up. I lied. Cindy sat down. "You've been sleeping here." "Yeah." "Logan, you can't. I can't go home, Cindy. I can't look at her. I can't pretend I don't know," I said. She opened the paper bag and pulled out a sandwich, chips, and water. "Eat." "I'm not hungry." "I don't care. Eat." She insisted. I picked up the sandwich and took a bite. It was good. Turkey, Swiss, lettuce, tomato. I realized I hadn't eaten since Tuesday morning. "Thank you." "You're welcome." We sat there for a minute. "I filed yesterday," Cindy started. "Filed? For divorce. Grant's being served today." My stomach dropped. "Today? Yeah, I'm not waiting. I'm done. I'm keeping the house. He can take his clothes and his car, and that's it." "Good," I said. She looked at me. "What about you? Are you gonna file?" "I don't know. I know I should. I know it's over, but I just need time." "Time for what?" "To process it, to figure out what I'm gonna say to her." "I don't know," I just need time. Cindy nodded. Okay, but you can't hide in your office forever. You're going to have to go home eventually and talk to her. I know. She stood up and walked to the door, then stopped and turned around. Logan, Grant's going to know after today. Once he's served, he's going to know that I know, and he's probably going to call her. So you need to be ready because she's going to find out soon. Then she left. I sat there staring at the half-eaten sandwich. Grant was being served that day, which meant by tonight he'd know Cindy was divorcing him, which meant he'd probably call Thelma. Part of me wanted to find him, make him understand what he'd done. But Grant wasn't worth it. He'd been a bully in high school, not to me but to others, pushing people around and taking what he wanted. Apparently, he never grew out of it, and I wasn't about to throw my life away over him. He'd get what he deserved, not from me, but from reality. I decided to go home to finally face the music. I came home after 3 days of sleeping at the office and eating takeout, avoiding everything. But I needed clothes, a shower, something. Her car was in the driveway when I pulled up. I went straight to the kitchen and started making coffee, not looking around, not wanting to see the living room where we used to watch TV together, or the couch where we fall asleep on Sunday afternoons. I just wanted coffee. I was filling the pot with water when I heard her behind me. Logan! I ignored her and didn't turn around. Logan, where have you been? I've been calling you, texting you. You haven't answered. I didn't answer. Just poured the water into the machine and pressed the button. Logan, please talk to me. What's going on? The coffee maker started brewing, and I leaned against the counter, staring at it. Then her phone rang. I glanced over. It was on the kitchen table, face up, with Grant's name on the screen. She looked at it, then at me, but she didn't answer. Then the ringing stopped. 5 seconds later, it rang again. She still wasn't answering, just standing there frozen. Then the ringing stopped. Then it rang again, the third time. I felt something twist in my chest. Anger, cold, sharp. Answer it! My voice sounded strange, flat, dead. But she didn't move. Answer the goddamn phone! I finally raised my voice. She immediately picked it up, with her hand shaking, and answered it. Hello? I was watching her. She was listening, not saying anything, just listening. Then her face changed. Confusion first. Then her eyes went wide and her mouth opened slightly. With a worried facial expression, she looked at me. I was standing by the coffee maker with my arms crossed, just looking at her, waiting. Now she knows. She lowered the phone without hanging up, just held it there. We stared at each other in complete silence. The coffee maker beeped. I poured myself a cup without offering her any, picked up the mug and walked past her without saying a word. I went to our bedroom and left the door open. She was still standing in the kitchen and I could feel her watching me. I set the coffee on the dresser, pulled my duffel bag out of the closet and started packing. Shirts, pants, socks, underwear. I went to the bathroom, grabbed my toiletries and came back. I heard her footsteps. She was standing in the doorway. Where are you going? She asked, panicking. I didn't answer her. I just kept packing. Logan, answer me. Where are you going? I zipped up the bag, picked up my coffee, took a sip, then walked past her again. She followed me to the front door. Logan, please, can we just talk about this? I opened the door. Logan, I walked out, got in my car, and she was standing in the doorway watching me leave. I started the engine and drove away. I went straight to Tom Branford, a lawyer I'd worked for 3 years ago on a corporate espionage case. He told me if I ever needed anything, to call him. Logan, good to see you. What can I do for you? I need a divorce. He didn't ask questions, just nodded. Okay, let's get started. 30 days later, Thelma got served with divorce papers and an eviction notice. The house was mine. I'd bought it before we got married and it was in my name only. She had 30 days to get out. I didn't go back during those 30 days. I stayed at a motel, let her pack, let her figure it out. I didn't want to see her. On day 29, she showed up at my office. I was at my desk reviewing photos for a client, an insurance fraud case, when the door opened without a knock. She walked in. Logan! I looked up. She looked terrible. Hair messy, clothes wrinkled, eyes red. What do you want? I asked. I want to talk, she replied. There's nothing to talk about, Thelma. Yes, there is. Logan, please, just listen. She closed the door and sat down in the chair across from me. I leaned back in my chair. Fine, talk. She took a breath. I know you're angry. I know I hurt you. But you have to understand, I was lonely. You were never home. You were always working. You missed our anniversary. You were gone for a month, and I didn't know what to do. So you chose to sleep with Grant. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just happened. We were talking and he was there and you weren't. And you made a choice, I said. I was forced to. No. I sat up and leaned forward. You weren't forced to do anything. You chose. You chose to text him. You chose to meet him. You chose to sleep with him. Don't sit there and tell me you were forced. She was crying now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Then sign the papers. She looked down at her hands, at her purse on her lap. I know you have them. Sign them. Logan, sign them if you're sorry for what you did. And I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry I worked too much. I thought you will understand. I was doing it for us. But I guess it wasn't enough. It's not that, she tried to explain. Sign the papers, then you can be with Grant. I'm letting you go. Now please, let me go. She wiped her face and stared at me for a long moment. Then something in her expression changed. The tears stopped and her jaw tightened. Fine. She reached into her purse, pulled out the folded divorce papers, and set them on my desk. She grabbed a pen from my desk, clicked it, and signed with fast, angry strokes across the page. She threw the pen down. There, happy? She asked. I didn't answer. There's no need. She stood up. You know what? Grant can provide me things you can't provide anyway. I looked at her, then I laughed. Couldn't help it. Her face flushed. What's so funny? She asked. Wouldn't you want to know? I said. What do you mean? She asked. I leaned back. Grant isn't what he says he is. But you'll find out soon enough. She stared at me. What are you talking about? Oh, you'll figure it out. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. Now please, leave my office. You have one more day to vacate my house. Take everything that's yours. Don't leave any trace of yourself there. The wedding photos, our pictures together, throw them all in the trash. I don't want to see any of it when I finally get to go home. She grabbed her purse and walked to the door, stopping in front of me. I'll be fine. Better than fine. Grant actually cares about me. He's there for me. He's broke, I said, cutting her off. She blinked. What? He's broke, Thelma. Cindy was the one with money. The house, hers. The trips, her money. The kitchen renovation he bragged about, she paid for it. Grant makes $50,000 a year at a hardware store. And now he's in debt. Credit cards maxed out from renting that Airbnb for you. From the restaurants, the flowers, all of it. Her face went pale. But you'll figure that out soon enough. Now please, go. She didn't say anything, just stared at me, then turned and walked out. I closed the door, went back to my desk, and picked up the signed papers. It was done. 20 years, over. And she thought she was getting the better deal. Well, okay, sure. All of that happened 1 year ago. Thelma's working full-time now because Grant couldn't support them both on his hardware store salary. They're living in a one-bedroom apartment on the east side, barely surviving. Now she found out that Grant lied to her. Yes, he will be there for her, but the promise of a rich lifestyle. It was all nothing but a big lie. Grant's in debt with his credit cards maxed out and no money left without Cindy's six-figure income. I heard Thelma had to sell her car and takes the bus to work now. They fight a lot, about money, about whose fault it is. Cindy sold her house and bought a new place, smaller, clean, no memories. She's doing well, still planning that early retirement on her own terms. Me? I'm still in my house, still a private investigator, still good at my job. I dated someone for 3 months, but it didn't work out. I wasn't ready, and I realized something. I'm not the man I was a year ago. That man would have forgiven her, would have tried to fix it. This man knows the truth. Some things can't be fixed. Some betrayals are too deep, and that's okay. Because I survived. I'm still here, still standing, still moving forward, one day at a time. Tomorrow's another day, another case, another chance to keep going, and that's enough, for now. That's enough. So that's what happened. Thanks for hearing me out. Oh hey, can you do me a solid? If this story got to you, hit that like button. And if you want to hear more stuff like this, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. But here's what I can't stop thinking about. Did I do the right thing? Should I have confronted Grant? Should I have yelled at Thelma instead of just staying quiet? Let me know what you think in the comments. What would you have done?
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Don't forget to follow for more content just like this. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.